Okay, hello.
Hi.
Can you see the slides for?
Yeah, very well.
Oh, okay. So for this week, we're going to transformational and transactional leadership. But before that, let's do a little recap of what we discussed last week. Last week, we looked at the power theory and then the LMX theory, that is the leader-member exchanges theory. So for the power goal theory, it says that a leader should first define the path on which followers will have to follow in order to be able to achieve a specified goal. Define that path and then clarify the path so that if there are any obstacles or roadblocks, the leader will need to remove such obstacles in order to allow followers travel on the path smoothly to help them achieve the specified goal. And then secondly, the leader will need to choose a leadership style that will suit the characteristics of the followers as well as the task characteristics. And if the leader is able to choose the most appropriate style that suits these two characteristics, then the leader will be able to motivate followers to enable them achieve their specified goal. Whereas the LMX basically said that there are two relationships in every workplace: the in group and that productivity is higher in the in group. More communication, there's more responsibility sharing, and as a result, the LMX theory advises that every try as much as possible to ensure that all staff are found within the in group rather than the out group. Is that okay? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are here.
okay. So for this week, we're going to look at two other theories. We'll look at the transformational leadership, and then we'll also look at authentic leadership. But let's begin with the transformational and transactional leadership. So transformational leadership views leadership as a process. That is, that a leader interacts with followers, and through this interaction is able to transform the followers. It also views leadership as some kind of influence. That is, it assumes that a leader can transform followers. So, anybody wants to say something?
No, sir.
Okay. So what I was saying is that the transformational leadership also view leadership as involving some influence. That is, the leader, through his interaction with the followers, is able to influence them and transform them so that they are able to accomplish much more than they ordinarily will be able to do without such influence. And then some of the core elements of transformational leadership include emotions, values, ethics, standards, and then long-term goals. The assumption is that through the interaction with the followers, the leader is able to transform these elements, that is the emotions. Actually, transformational leadership is one of the few leadership theories that deals with emotions. How enthusiastic are followers about undertaking a task and then completing that task. So the transformational leadership, the leader through his interaction with followers is able to transform the emotions of followers so that if they have negative emotions, he's able to transform such emotions to become positive, to enable them achieve much more than they ordinarily would be able to do. The leader is also able to transform the values, ethics, and the standards and long-term goals of followers to enable them achieve much more than they ordinarily will be able to do. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Um, let's look at transactional leadership. This focuses exclusively on exchanges that occur between leaders and then their followers. So, for instance, a political leader will normally promise his followers that if they vote for him, he will lower taxes. So, in effect, what he's doing is exchanging lower taxes for votes. And then the boss of a car selling company might followers that if they are able to sell more cars, then they receive bonuses. That is, he's exchanging bonus for the sales of more cars. And then a lecturer will want to give good grades to students who do all their assignments. And then a supervisor might promise to promote his staff who are able to exceed goals that they are given. So these exchanges can be observed in all organizations, from the state level all the way to even the family level. So at the family level, a parent might promise his kids that if they put up good behavior, then he will give them surprises. Is that okay?
Yeah, very well.
Okay. So let's look at transformational leadership then. Transformational leadership is the process pushing engagement with others. This is who follow. Clemens, are you able to admit the room?
Yes, please, I am.
Oh, okay. Okay. If you can tell where the coming from. So what I was saying is transformational leadership is a process that involves engagement with others to create a connection that increases motivation and morality in both the leader and then the follower. So importantly, what we should note here is that transformational leadership views leadership as a reciprocal process in that the leader influences the followers, and then followers in turn influences leaders. Then through that influence, the leader is able to increase the motivation, then the morality of followers. Morality in this sense means that transformational leadership is for good things. It's only to transform followers to achieve desirable things. If a leader's a leader's influence leads to undesirable things, then that kind of leadership cannot be called transformational leadership. Mostly it's referred to as pseudo-transformational. So the transformational leader is attentive to the needs and then the motives of his followers. And then as much as possible, he tries to help these followers to realize their full potential. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Example of a transformational leader in our time could be Nelson Mandela. Mandela was able to raise the hopes and the demands of millions of South motivating them to rise up to demand the end of apartheid. Can anybody mention another transformational leader that you know? Oh, I with me.
We talk of Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay, so what will you say? How was he able to transform?
Yeah, he was able to influence the youth of his generation, of his age, to actually rally around him to request and demand for independence now. Whereas the older generation was saying that they should try and get independence gradually. And apart from the fact that when he got it for Ghana, he he also played a key role in training, influencing, and then motivating other countries to also gain independence.
Yes, that's excellent. Any other? Sadiq, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, then let's go on. Let's look at a model of transformational leadership. So this model, transformational leadership, transactional leadership, and then leadership, a continuum. These three types do not usually these three types of leadership are not mutually dependent on each other, but rather exist as a continuum, which means that a transformational leader may or will sometimes make use of transactional leadership in order to achieve a specified goal. Is that okay? So laissez-faire leadership, as the French name implies, is it takes a hands-off approach. It's hardly involved and could almost be described as lack of leadership. The leader in this sense is only but in name, but he's hardly involved in the day-to-day running of the organization or the group he seeks to lead or he's supposed to lead. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's look at some factors of some leadership factors. The model recognizes 7 leadership factors. The first 4 are also known as the 4 I's because they all begin with an I. We have the idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and then individualized consideration. And then the second 2 factors come under transactional leadership. That is the contingent reward and then the management by exception. And then the final, and that is the 7th factor, comes under the laissez-faire type of leadership. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So what we'll do now is we will discuss these individual factors one after the other. So we'll begin with the individualized influence. This is what is also known as charisma. It describes leaders who act as strong role models for followers. Followers are able to identify with these leaders and want very much to emulate them. And then this factor involves 2 types of influences. We have what is known as the attributional component and then the behavioral component. The attributional component refers to attributions of leaders made by followers. These are perceptions that followers tend to have of their leaders. Whereas the behavioral component refers to followers' observations of what the leader has actually done. Is that okay? So more often with these charismatic leaders, you tend to hear a lot of stories about them that by Followers tend to make up stories to make these leaders appear greater than they might ordinarily be. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Any questions? I remember when we were growing up, I used to hear that Rolex was the best pilot in Ghana. Did anybody?
What's the best word?
Pilots. Did anybody ever hear that?
Well, we heard of the stories of how he flew under the atomic bridge,
Yes.
how he did exploits when they caught him and all that. Yeah.
So those are the attributes. That's the what followers stories that followers will normally about make up um, um, about their leaders. Anyway, I'm not saying that some of these stories might not be true, but for most people, they do not observe these attributes.
Could the story of Confanoche commanding things from the skies and all those sort of stuff be an example of an idealized
Yeah, I do
influence?
not believe that they were
Good,
the golden
good.
stool from the sky. Do you believe that?
I don't believe it is not true.
But do you believe that Christ rose from the dead?
Okay, yeah, stepping into, I believe 110%.
Why do you believe one and you don't believe the other?
I believe 110% because of the personal influence and personal encounter I have with him. Yes.
Okay. Could somebody describe your belief as bias? You know,
That is left to him. But as far as I am concerned, I have a personal experience which I can't, doubt, for which I believe that he rose from the dead. Apart from the fact that it could also be proved, from the evidences we have, and then from historical archaeological facts, that it is true. I believe.
historical facts,
Yeah.
archaeological.
Yes.
How did they prove that he did rise?
Like the tomb is there, where your spirit is there, and then that there are, proofs to the effect that he rose up. History backs it as well. So, apart from my personal experience,
Yeah.
it's also, uh, evidence to that effect. Yeah.
Mm. Anyway, it's not a class. Is not a religion class. But that's the attributional component we're talking about. It's things that we tend to attribute to our leaders that we don't have personal experience of, that we have not observed for ourselves. Whereas the behavioral component of individualized influence is things that we are able to observe for ourselves. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go on. Let's look at the second factor, the inspirational motivation. This factor describes leaders who are able to communicate high expectations to their followers. It ensures that followers become committed to and then part of a shared vision. So this leader is able to inspire followers to commit to achieving the shared vision. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's look at the third factor, which is the um, intellectual stimulation. So this includes leadership that stimulates followers to be creative, innovative, and then it challenges leaders to, challenges followers to examine their own belief systems and then their values, as well as that of as well as those of the leader. Is that okay? So the intellectual stimulations encourages or challenges followers to develop innovative ways of dealing with organizational issues or problems that do arise. Is that okay?
Yeah. But it looks like the eyes, I mean, they seem to be overlapping. The intellectual stimulation,
And then,
the inspirational one, and it looks like, I mean, well, if you are inspired, you can become creative and get stuff out of it, you know. So I'm trying to look at where which one ends and where the other begins.
okay. I think like with the continuum, we saw there's probably no end in they, like you said, they can overlap because inspiration and then stimulation can go hand in hand. Is that okay?
Okay.
And then finally, the fourth factor, which is the um, individualized consideration. It involves the leader listening carefully to the individual needs of followers and then their concerns. And then as a result of listening to these concerns and then values, the leader is able to help the follower to grow through personal challenges. So the leader might use delegation to help followers grow if he is able to realize that those followers are skilled enough to complete given task and then the task is complicated. So he will use the delegation to ensure that these leaders are able to go through, move upon their skills and then their experience. Is that okay? So any questions or contributions? Before I Okay, if no comments, let's go to the two factors under transactional leadership. The first is what is known as the contingent reward. This involves an exchange process between the leader and the followers, in which effort by followers is exchanged for specified rewards. The leader in this instance tries to obtain agreement from followers on what must be done and what payoffs will be. So the leader will promise followers a bonus if they're able to achieve some specified target. So that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, but like, is it in a way similar to the carrot and stick, or in this case, it's only carrots?
Yes, this is only carrot.
Okay.
The stick is the next factor.
Oh, okay.
So the stick is the management by exception. So this involves corrective criticisms, negative feedback, and then negative reinforcements. So
Mm.
management by exception also takes two forms. We have what is known as the active form and then the passive form. Which the active form, the manager watches followers closely for mistakes or rule violations. And when these occur, he will correct staff or he will discipline them accordingly. Whereas the passive form of management by exception, the leader intervenes only after standards have not been met or problems arise. So, for instance, a supervisor who uses the active form of management by exception, when staff come to work late, he will point out to them that they've violated a rule, and for that matter, they should put an end to late coming. Whereas the supervisor who uses the passive form of management by exception will only when the staff are unable to meet their targets. Is that okay? Hello.
Hello, sir. I think we are here.
Oh, okay. Any questions? Are you all tired?
Not as such.
My Monday class, you guys are really quiet all the time, apart from Clemens. Okay, let's look at the final factor, which is the laissez-faire leadership type of leadership. So this leader takes a hands-off, let things right approach. He abdicates responsibility, delays decisions, gives no feedback, and makes little efforts to help followers satisfy their needs. Like I said previously, this represents it almost represents an absence of leadership. It's only a leader. The leader is a leader only in name. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. But how? Okay, you said non-transactional leadership, right?
Yes. What the leadership leadership is non-transactional.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay. So let's look at the full range of the leadership model. So this model is based on two levels. We have the vertical level, which measures the effectiveness of a factor or a type of leadership. And then we have the horizontal level, which measures the activity level of the particular factor or leadership style. So what we can observe is that the four I's, which falls under the transformational leadership, they are very active form of interventions, and as a result, they are very effective, which means that transformational leadership is an active form of intervention, and as a result, it's effective. At the far end, we see what is known as the laissez-faire type of leadership. With this leadership style, what we observe is that it's the activity level, the leader is hardly involved, and as a result, it's also very ineffective. So basically, what this model says is that the more involved a leader is, then the more effective that leader will be. Is that okay? Any questions or any need for more clarification on this model?
Yeah, like when you just said that the more involved a leader is, I
Yes.
mean, from the model, it shows how effective it is. But I know there is this mantra that the effectiveness of a leader is seen in his absence.
It's in
Okay.
absence.
Yes.
Okay.
That is like when he's not around. That is like when he's not, I mean, on the scene.
Then
Because it's like they do things when you are around. But like the most effective leader is like he has been able to train the people so much that when he's not around, the people are able to still be, I mean, effective. They are productive. They're doing very well. You
oh
understand?
yes, I
Yeah. So
understand.
my question is like, so in that case, I mean, like, if that's anything to go by, if a leader is not seen being busily going up and down, trying to order his followers around, and that means he's not active. So, but per this mantra, then he's not effective.
Okay, so what we should take cognizance of is that under the four I's, realize that especially the four factor individualized influence, the individualized consideration. The leader observes, communicates with each staff, and then when he realizes that through that communication, he's able to the um, the individual need of values of that staff, and then his staff. And as a result, if he finds out that staff is capable and is willing to do stuff on his own, then he can for that person to do. When he realizes that the leader is capable and willing to work on his own, then he has no need to be directly involved to be directing the staff on a day-to-day basis. Whereas and the Lajafe, which is a very passive style of leadership, he has no idea about how to be able to accomplish a task or not, and yet he doesn't give any direction. So under the transformational leadership, we say that the leader is a very active form because the leader is able to ascertain whether staff can do complete intervention on a day-to-day basis. Is that okay? Hello?
I will say that's okay.
Yes. So the 4 I's, we say is very active because the leader finds out whether he needs to be if he needs to direct, he will direct. But if he needs to delegate, he will delegate. Then we also see that the contingent reward under transactional leadership is more effective and it involves more than the leadership management by exception. Whereas management by exception, active form of management by exception, is more effective than management by the passive form of management by exception. Is that okay? So any other concerns? Okay, then let's go on if there are no other concerns. So what we see is that the transactional leadership, which involves the contingent reward and the management by exception, both the passive and active form, will result in expected outcome. The leader using the transactional leader using contingent roles and then management by exception will be able to influence staff to achieve what is expected of them. Whereas the transformational leader who uses a combination of the idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration is able to get staff to perform beyond what is expected of them. So, for instance, let's say we use the car selling company already. The team, every year they sell 100 cars. So the transactional leader will use this combination of contingent reward and then the management by exception to get the team to sell the 100 cars. But when the transformational leader comes in, he will try as much as possible to motivate the staff to do more than the 100 cars. Is that okay?
Yeah. Say,
Yes, yes.
indeed, the individualized consideration,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, like, can it be compared to the situational leader?
Yes, yes, it's similar to that. The
Hmm.
point of the individualized consideration is to find out the individual needs and the individual values of the that staff. So what we said is that the transformational leader is able to transform staff to do more than they can by changing their emotions, changing their values, their ethics, and then their long-term goals. And then the only way he can do this is by knowing what these ethics, these emotions, and these values are. So if he doesn't engage with staff on an individual level, he will not be able to know what these core elements are. And as a result, he will not be able to transform them. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go on. So let's look at the difference between the transformational and the transactional leadership. So transactional leadership differs from transformational leadership in that the transactional leader does not individualize the needs of followers or focus on their personal development. The transactional leader is only interested in ensuring that staff are able to achieve their given goal. So this will exchange things of value with followers to advance their own or the followers' agendas. That is the agendas that has been set up the organization for the team or for the group. Is that okay? So, information leadership, on the other hand, produces greater effect. Just a minute. Where the noise is coming from? I think from Isaac. Okay. So what I was saying is that transformational leadership produces greater effects than transactional leadership. So whereas transactional leadership results in expected outcome, transformational leader is able to get staff to produce, to perform more than what is expected of them. Is that okay?
Yes.
So transformational leaders set out to empower followers and nurture them in change by raising their consciousness and getting them to transcend their own self for the sake of others and for the sake of the larger group. So what transformational leaders are able to do is to align the interests of individual followers with that of the larger group. So that when the larger group's goal has been achieved, then automatically the individual goals of the staff or followers will also be achieved. Is that okay? So to create change, transformational leaders become strong role models for their followers. They have a highly developed set of moral values and self-determined sense of identity. People who are seen to be moral and then uphold these moral values are able to get others to follow them. Whereas people who tend to have whose moral values are questionable will find it much more difficult to get people to follow them. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's go on. So a state of cooperation normally develops between a transformational leader and then his or her followers. They tend to listen carefully to followers and are not intolerant of opposing views. The transformational leader will listen, and when followers, contradicts what he believes in or what his vision is, he will not be intolerant of such views or such opinion, but rather he will incorporate these views and develop the broader. He incorporate this opposing the process of developing the larger organizational vision. That's okay. Organizational vision will normally evolve from collective. Clemens, can you tell where the noise is coming from? Oh, okay, let's go on.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, a transformational leader will listen to individual views and opinions and then visions, and then incorporate these views, developing and creating a vision for the group or the team as a whole. So this vision will emerge from the collective interest of various individuals and units within the organization. So because individuals are aware that their views and then their concerns and then their visions have gone into the creation of the organizational vision. Then they are able to develop a sense of identity. They are able to identify with the organizational vision, which makes it easier for them to go along as the group seeks to realize that vision. That's okay. Hello.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Then some of the strengths of transformational leadership.
Question again, please.
Yes, please. I was asking if anybody has any concerns or questions. Okay, so if no questions, let's look at the strengths of transformational leadership. Leadership has appeal because it tends to um, coincide with what we see or what we expect our leaders to be. And that is, it describes how a leader is out from advocating for change for others. And that is how society perceive or wants leaders to be. They want leaders who are out there fighting for them, fighting for us, and not leaders who are self-consumed and are only interested in their own advancement. Is that okay? And then secondly, transformational leadership treats leadership as a process that incorporates both the followers and the leaders' needs. Unlike the other leadership
What
approaches,
is it?
trait approach, skill approach, and
I want the smaller ones. Hey, where boy your cassava fish? Me big fish. You make it one do. You want to do? Who now we do one find home?
Clemens, can you tell where the noise is from?
Yeah, how
I'm trying to locate the person,
I think
please.
it's from
I see so far.
then. Yes, it's muted now.
Thank you.
And then thirdly, the transformational leadership provide an expanded picture of leadership that include not only the exchange of rewards, not only the exchange of rewards, but also the leader's attention to the needs and then the group of their followers. So we said under the individualized consideration, the leader gets to know the individual concerns, values, and ethics of followers, and as a result, is able to work towards changing these values or emotions and then the needs of these followers for positive outcomes. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And it is true. By getting to know and then by working to change these, the leader is able to transform these followers so that they are able to achieve much more than what is expected of them, or much more than what ordinarily think they can do. Okay, let's look at the fourth strength of transformational leadership. It places a strong emphasis on followers' needs, values, and morals. The leader motivates followers to transcend their own self-interest for the good of the team or the organization or the community in which these individuals are found in. because the leader be able to align the needs and the values and morals of individuals to the larger goal of the organization. The individuals are no more they realize that if the goals of the team or the organization or the community is achieved, then their individual needs and values will also be achieved. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Can we can you see some possible weaknesses of this leadership approach?
Yeah. Yes, there is.
So for one,
Well, there can be high level of manipulation
manipulation.
since since the leaders have the ability to be able to influence the followers from the inside out. So and sometimes because they idealize the leader, okay, they may end up even idolizing it. So anything the leader says, they will listen to. So in view of that, the leader can take advantage of it and then manipulate them and then also cause them to do things for their own bidding and for their own interests. The followers can be acting without thinking, without, considering, the issues. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, I think that is true. This is especially true with populism. Leaders who pretend that they're acting for the greater good, but they're merely using the support that they have to achieve their own self-interest or things that their own needs are presented as if those are the needs of the larger group. Any other? Any other? Don't you want to go? Let's all contribute so that we're able to finish in time and you can prepare for work tomorrow. So are you guys still here? I can't hear anybody apart from Clemens. Yvonne, Esther, George, Patience.
We're here, sir.
Yeah, so can you foresee any possible weaknesses of this transformational leadership approach? Clemens has already mentioned the risks of abuse that leaders might, in trying to transform the values and the ethics of these followers, they might abuse the power given them, or they might transform them to achieve things that are not so desirable or are not desirable by the followers at all. Can you see any other weakness of this transformation?
Yeah, well, that was exactly what I was going to say. Abuse of power.
Abuse of power.
Yes, please.
Any other?
I think the leader can easily be misled because all the followers have idolized him and idolized him. As a result, anything he sees, they take everything wholly without actually bringing out any feedback. And as a result, the leader can be tempted to believe that everything he or she says is right. And so he himself can be misled by the misconception that whatever he says is right, is final, is the best. Because all the followers just take in whatever he says because he's idealized and idolized. Yeah.
Yeah, but the ideal situation is that the transformational leader should create the larger vision by incorporating the individual visions of followers and then his own vision. But of course, so the opportunity for abuse is high. But for misleading, can you say that again? I didn't get that. How the leader can be misled.
See, like, because the followers have made him to believe that he's the final authority and that everything that comes from him is, supreme or is the best. Okay. Whatever he says, he may have nobody to critique, to criticize, or to analyze. That this one, take a second look. You get a point.
I think that's probably the case with most charismatic leaders, but then maybe these leaders cannot become transformational in the sense that charisma is the necessary condition for transformational leadership, but it is not a sufficient condition. So the fact for all transformation, which this means that all transformational leaders have some amount of charisma. They are charismatic leaders as well, but not all charismatic leaders are transformational leaders. So those who believe in their own infallibility are probably not transformational leaders anymore.
Okay, let me give you a typical example. For example, Kwame Nkrumah. That's why I actually said earlier on, I asked whether Kwame Nkrumah could be considered a transformational leader, and he said that's right. But you will observe that at a point in time, it's like they had been singing his songs. He had been singing. It's like anything that he says, and anybody says anything contrary, it was sort of like tantamount to, what's the name, discipline, or like maybe being tortured here and there. At that point, Nkrumah has been healed for him to even believe that, well, like he's the supremo sort of. So that's the point I'm trying to see over here, where like that is made to come to a point whereby he seems to have utmost power and authority, and whatever he is able to do, he can do, because the people have also bought into the fact that, well, he's a supremo. You get the point. So I think like that's the point I'm trying to put across over here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So when you said Kwame Nkrumah, you gave the example of Kwame Nkrumah as a transformational leader. I asked why so, or what was he able to transform his followers to do? And you mentioned that he was able to organize his followers, or Ghanaians for that matter, to rise up and then demand for independence now. And then he was also able to motivate Africans and then Black people everywhere to ask for emancipation. So yes, he was able to transform people to achieve independence. Yes, that is transformational. Going beyond that, where you begin to mention the other failures, that I will not say was transformational. So a leader, we cannot describe a leader through his. You can be transformation in one aspect, and then you can be a dictator in another aspect. Is that okay? We don't describe.
I get you, some way, somehow. For example, Paul Kagame, for example, Rwanda. We all know, the great works he's doing, how he's transforming Rwanda. But the fact on the ground to us to do the fact that, like, he also goes about sort of like with that autocracy, and anybody who actually seems to stand his way is cleared. You get the point. That one, it's also a fact on ground.
Yes.
Irrespective of the fact that, like, the guy is good, he's bringing about transformation in Rwanda. Rwanda is all over the globe for their impressive developmental projects and then growth and then all that. It's an undeniable fact that a guy to cleanse anybody who is in his way is very autocratic and all that. You get my point?
So what I'm trying to explain is that we should not box leaders because the person has done this, then for that matter, he can no longer be transformational. So what I'm saying is that being a dictator and being a transformational leader, probably they are not exclusive. They are not mutually exclusive. In the sense that if you talk about Kagame in terms of transforming the economic fortunes of Rwandans, yes. But is he be able to transform in terms of democracy? No, he's not a transformational leader. He's not able to bring democracy, human rights, and all that to for his people. So in that sense, it's not transformational. But if it is economic progress, then maybe yes, it's transformational in that sense. So we should not, we can describe a leader based on different criteria and then describe his leadership style on that.
So if I get you very well, a leader, the same person can be a transformation leader in one aspect and not a transformation leader in another aspect, right?
Nkrumah is a perfect example. You mentioned that he was able to get transform Ghanaians to get independence. That was transformational, was it not?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. But in the end, was he able to achieve the other aspects that he probably wanted to do? He wanted to make Ghana an economic power that he wasn't able to do. But that should not take away from the initial successes that he was able to achieve.
All right.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So in terms of Paul Kagame, economically, yes, but maybe democratically, no. Yeah, any other contributions?
So can I give a perspective from the followers' point of view?
Yes.
The follower tends to be sometimes stressed and feel like maybe the demands or expectations of the leader is too greater than his capabilities, and maybe he might tend to rebel or sometimes not want to go according to the wishes of the leader.
Oh, okay.
Could that also be?
You mean a weakness? Oh, okay. But that would have meant that the leader is not able to determine the individual needs and values of that staff. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
If the leader is able,
Yes,
then he should be able to recognize the capability of the individual capabilities of his followers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are the ideals that we're talking about. These are theoretical. It doesn't mean that it always works out fine for everybody. Okay, let's look at some of the weaknesses that I put together here. Look, for one, it lacks conceptual clarity because it tends to cover such a wide range of activities and then characteristics. And as a result, it's difficult to conceptualize clearly what it constitutes. And then secondly, it treats leadership as a personality trait or personal disposition rather than a behavior that can be learned. We're told that the leader has should have the capability to determine the values, the emotions, the ethics, and then the goals of followers. But then we're not told how these are learned. It's assumed that the leader just is born with these capabilities and also the capabilities to transform these. That's okay. And then thirdly, students are yet to be able to establish that transformational leaders are actually able to transform the core elements of individuals and then organizations. The core elements like about the emotions, the values, the ethics, and then the long-term goals of followers. Is it really the case that transformation leaders are able to transform people's emotions, their values, and then their ethics? These are assumptions that the transformational leadership approach makes, but right, so studies are yet to be able to prove that these are possible. Is that okay?
Please.
And then finally, like Clement said, there is a potential for abuse. So because transformational leadership is concerned with changing people's values and then moving them to a new vision, it's possible that the leader could take undue advantage of this and then abuse the power he has, because who is to determine whether the new direction or the new values that the leader is introducing and is introducing are good or they are more affirming. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a short break before we move to the next theory. Okay, let's take a 3-minute break. Then when we come back, we move to the next theory, which is authentic leadership.